Parenting a teenager in today's world, often described as overwhelming, especially as high-pressure academics, social media, it all causes that anxiety to skyrocket. And many parents struggle to find the right way to support their kids without judgment. But our new resource promises to provide that empathetic roadmap to that source of that anxiety with ways to help curb it. It's a guide called Calming Teenage Anxiety, and we're happy to have its author join us via Zoom this morning to help us guide our teens toward a more confident and healthy future. Welcome to the mix, author Sophia Galdano.
Hi, Todd. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to learn. I'm sure every parent watching is probably very intrigued to learn what you have to say. First, let's learn more about you. Experience working with teens and their families. What's your background?
Yes, so I'm a therapist. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I have a private therapy practice, and I've been working with teens and their families for over a decade. So I've worked in residential treatment centers, in schools, both independent and public schools. I've worked in hospitals, outpatient centers. So working with teens and their family in a plethora of settings. And really, this is sort of my bread and butter is, parenting a teen with anxiety is just, comes up every day, regardless of the setting that I'm working in. So I'm excited to chat more about it.
Obviously got the experience. You've seen this. And that's, I think, what parents or guardians are looking for is someone who has seen this, like, all the time and can tell the difference between the finer points of what they may be experiencing.
Right.
And so if kids go through changes, they have these natural hormones that are happening in their bodies as they change in age. How can you tell the difference between something that may be just happening hormonal or something that may need some more attention?
Yes, absolutely. Well, to preface, it is really, really common to confuse this. And oftentimes the most concerned, well-meaning, loving parents will overlook a teen's anxiety for exactly what you said, that oftentimes it can be perceived as very natural, teen development, which sometimes it is. What I usually recommend is for parents to begin to notice how often and to what extent the teen is struggling. So as a little example, it's kind of just, sort of a basic example, but, I say if a teen, let's say, is anxious before a math test, they're nervous, they're stressed, they go and they take the test, they're able to get through it, they can get through the school day. Okay, that's, kind of more natural teen anxiety. Whereas let's say we have a teenager that refuses to go to school every time they have a math test. They refuse to get out of bed. They are no longer socializing. They're having a panic attack before every test. It's a shortness of breath. They're feeling anxious. They're feeling overly anxious. That's when we're going to want to take a closer look. So it's really noticing, again, how often and to what extent the anxiety is occurring.
The frequency, the intensity of that anxiety, if it seems to be happening more often, maybe something you want to look into. So, oh boy, here's the tricky question. How do you start that talk? I mean, what's the best way parents can communicate with teens? I mean, do I text them?
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely speaking their language. We'll put it that way, And what I remind parents before they even begin having this conversation is just to go in with this mentality that teens are not the expert communicators. So a teen might not communicate to the parent in the way that the parent might want them to. Most teens aren't going to sit down and say, hey, Mom, I'm really suffering. This is so challenging for me. This is really taking a toll on my self-esteem. No, of course not. I mean, maybe there's someone out there that does that. I haven't met them yet, but so for a parent to just keep that in mind, that the communication conversation might look different than how they want it to. I encourage parents to go in to a conversation without the mentality of, I'm going to fix this and I'm going to provide a solution, to really take the time to actively listen. So for parents to ask open-ended questions, their teenager avoiding yes or no questions. Really what the parent wants to do is to encourage the teen to keep talking and to really just listen. So that is a really, really helpful place for parents to start and for them to remember that listening is actually in turn going to provide a solution.
I was about to say, it's kind of like you're on a fact-finding mission, but you're not asking for any facts. You're just listening.
Exactly. And oftentimes parents, what they will do is they want to fix and they want to provide solutions. And most times, let's be real, the parent solutions are accurate. Parents will say, oh, you're anxious, go take a walk, meditate, just, take a nap. And honestly, it's true, that will help. But the teen doesn't want to hear that. So it's really going in with a more listening, curious, inquisitive mentality.
All right, last one for you, Sophia. What if they say no? What if it's something that you want to talk to them about and your teen is just not open to
Yes.
receiving that help?
Yes.
It feels like you're kind of stuck.
Yes, yes. And that will happen. So I encourage parents not to get, discouraged or to give up because it might take a couple of attempts to do this. So first of all, for parents, not to say, okay, I tried once and it's a lost cause. So to revisit at a later time, to respect the teen if the teen is not ready to talk about it, not to push or press unless it is an emergency situation. So as let parents know that of course, if there's a suicidal teen, there's self-harm, there's severe substance use, different story, to keep that in mind. But for the sake of, this conversation, if a teen is expressing anxiety, it's okay to wait and not to push it. And this is where I really encourage parents to make sure that they're taking care of themselves. So to practice their own self-care, to get their own support. I talk about this in my book that's coming out, for parents to begin to lead by example, to really be mindful of how they're modeling. So to really do their own internal work, because in turn, that will help support the teen.
I love that. A little persistence if they say no, if they're just not open to that. They say you have to offer a young child a new food up to 30 times before they might try it and say that they actually do like it. So just consistently, don't pester, but that consistency, it's not a one and done deal. I'm looking forward to this book. It's available, let's see, the 7th. Oh my goodness, this is happening. Sophia Galdano, thank you so much for writing this thing and then for sharing that information with us. Calming Teenage Anxiety, a parent's guide to helping your teenager cope with worry. Available right now for pre-order. You can just go to sophiagalano.com. That address right there on your screen. If you want to follow along, you can always see her on Instagram and the socials as well. Sophia, thanks for the time this morning.